Hello, good afternoon to all. We are going to start our 78th meetup in a webinar form. Turn your Jupyter notebook in pretty web demos. I want to thank you all for attending, and I want to thank the speaker for doing the presentation that we are going to see. So first of all, I will present the agenda. You have to hear me for 15 minutes doing self-promotion about the group. Then you'll hear by Michal Mucha about turning your Jupyter notebook into pretty web demos. Finally, we have a question and answering. Is going to be in Slido. I have slides to explain that, and then the closing comments. It's important to mention that this presentation has a demo, so your questions may be answered during the demo. So if you have any questions regarding what Michal is doing right now in the code, you can ask it in the Slido, and he will be monitoring. He will be monitoring the Slido, and he might try to answer it when he is doing the demo. So first of all, I want to present the DSPT, our group. We are an informal community of people that are related with data science, right? We are not people from only industry or academia. We are hobbyists that like to do data science, and we get together since 2016 when we felt the need to share our knowledge and talk with persons that know more about data science than us ourselves to improve our knowledge. This has growing quite well, and our philosophy promotes knowledge sharing between all the members, open events for everyone, breaking the barriers between speakers and audience. So we want you to feel that you can talk with the presenters that we bring, and you can share your knowledge and you can improve your knowledge based on theirs. And we want to promote networking between data scientists. Right? It doesn't matter what your field is, if you are in the academia industry, if you are a student, if you are a hobbyist at home that wants to learn by itself, we want you to connect to us and share your knowledge or share your questions, and we'll try to do our best to help you. What you don't promote in this group is bullshit selling or shameless promotion. This is an informal group, and we are interested in sharing our knowledge, sharing what we know about data science, and learn with you what you know about data science. We don't want to make money. We are present in 5 cities right now: Aveiro, Braga, Coimbra, Lisboa, and Porto. We had in a couple of months physical meetups in each of the cities, and this is the third one that is remote, and apparently we are continuing to do the remote way for now. You can follow all our updates and all our information at datascienceportugal.com, where you can find the next events, not from only the team, but from other groups that do data science in Portugal. You can find about our sponsors, our team, and jobs if you are looking for it. The community is mainly distributed in these social networks, and if you want to contact us directly, we recommend Slack. So join us and be a part of our community. I want to thank Farfetch for sponsoring this webinar. And before we starting with the presentation itself, I want to make a call for proposals. If you have a nice work that you want to share with us, or if you know someone that has done an interesting work related with data science, please follow the links, and we'll evaluate the work and try to put them on this stage. So if you know someone, or if you yourself have done something that you find that is interesting, please contact us. We are always looking for new speakers. Next event, the big one, DSPT Day. Against all odds, the DSPT Day will be happening this year. There are a couple of small changes. It's not a physical event. It will be a remote one, but the team has made all the efforts to make it as close as possible as the previous two. So we have social networking. Let me say, you have remote social networking and remote virtual rooms for you to socialize with the other attendees. And we'll try to make it as close as possible, so you have a lot of remote options to try to socialize and talk with the speakers and the other attendees. The only thing we were not able to reproduce remotely was beer, so you are required to bring your own. We are sorry about that. We are more than 300 registries right now, and the registration is free this year. So please, if you want, search for it and register in this event. We also have partner events. In Porto, we are participating in Vision Summer School. We have the SPT Online, and we have LXMLX in Lisbon, and I can vouch for the event. I'm the class of 12. So if you have to choose one of those, if you only can choose two, I recommend the last two. For the questions, you can go to Slido, enter the catchphrase DSPT78, and you'll be live in our pool to make the questions that you want for our speaker. Just type your question. If you log in, we'll be able to see your name and your picture. It might help, and that's it. You have a small tutorial here if you are with any issues. Before starting, I want to present Michal. He is the lead data scientist at CreateML. He is a curious tinkerer, and in a couple of last week or a couple of months, he became a father, right? He can talk about that in the presentation, but he is now a proud father of a small one. So if he is too tired for anything, we'll be apologizing him because he has a small one depending on him.
Yes, I do. Thank you so much for this introduction.
No problem.
It's really great to be here. Yeah, okay.
I just want to read the title. Turn your Jupyter notebooks in pretty web demos by Michal Mucha. And the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really amazing to be here. It's great to join. I remember finding out about your meetup first, and even though I'm not in Portugal, I still enjoy all the sessions that I could make. Really happy to be part of this group, and yeah, actually, I missed the meetings in person, and I tried to make up for it through it. Yeah, I'll share the screen as soon as it's okay. Try to make up for it by looking at who subscribed. So I'm really hoping to give you something valuable today in the spirit of the meetup. So perhaps to begin with, why is this important? Why are we even paying attention to this, and why would we like to devote and invest our time into practicing how to build demos? I see communication as a critical component for when your work is ready and you want to ship it. You might be familiar with the proverb, like, if you build it, they will come. Well, it turns out that's not the case in many occasions, and sometimes great work is overlooked. And actually, throughout my business experience, which I over the past decade, I helped close to a dozen companies with long and short-term projects. I was involved in academic research and private projects, and happy to be doing really well right now. Basically, I see one of the main failure points is in communication. So I wanted to offer something that will enhance your capability without placing additional work on your shoulders, but let you just fly further with your current skill set. Let me quickly share the presentation. Okay. We'll be, in the beginning, we'll look at a few important concepts that are really key from my experience for successful just for a successful career, and later we'll jump into practice. So you spent a lot of time educating yourself and practicing skills, and whether that is through formal ways or informal ways, that can go so much further when you are understood and when others feel understood by you. So your work actually solves problems that others identify with having them. And in this world, you can even say that attention is like the main currency. You can see the biggest tech companies are the ones that capture attention and monetize it somehow. So it also spills over to our daily lives beyond their business model and beyond this kind of innocent looking information consumption. It spills over in a way that whenever we interact with people in a business or people in the broader community, we are competing for their attention and time for our message to be heard. And essentially, sometimes the competition that we're dealing with is actually, in a way, not as, what I'm trying to say here, your proposition might be interesting and important in and of itself, but it's getting silenced by some less meaningful messaging that is communicated better. So I wanted to focus here on tools that will elevate your ability while preserving like the same amount of work that you're doing. In this workshop, this is what we'll do. We'll be looking at ways of turning the results into attractive interactive demos, because that engages the audience and makes it a two-way conversation much more, makes the audience of your work, of your data science work, of your work as a data practitioner or data analyst, makes it easier to become a collaborative effort. And we'll look at tools that will let you use that and use those approaches consistently throughout time. Whatever the tools will evolve, they will change, but your habit of structuring the delivery of your work will remain with you. And then we'll review some considerations, which we'll do in the beginning, that are based on my experience of successfully helping a lot of people. And what I actually really care about here is to maybe take it more personal. We're living in a very in a period of significant upheaval, so to speak. We can all agree that perhaps a lot has happened in 2020 already. It's really a very intense time, and it only compresses. If we had discomforts before, if something was not as we wanted it to be, perhaps now it's even more so. I recently saw the statistics for layoffs in the tech industry, even in Silicon Valley, and they actually rank up quite high. And I think it's a great time to invest in this as a source of lasting security and lasting, basically lasting, successful, reliable skill set. Okay, so that's what we're focusing on today, successful communication. And what I want you to do is, I'll be going through a story of mine, which is an example and which is a template, which is something that probably most of you are familiar with. But what I would like you to do is make it your own. So when you're listening to me, I would like you to imagine what project you have that you would like to turn into a demo. What audience do you deal with that you would like to engage more? And how would you like to use what you learned today to drive that? Because in the end, I want you not just to watch this and enjoy, enjoy or not enjoy looking at my face. I would really like you to have some lasting benefit from this hour that we have here together. So please do think about that throughout the presentation, and then I want you to leave with some ideas for apps to build. And then let's connect. And whenever you build something, please let me know. I'll be very, very glad if I was able to inspire you. If I can see you contributing to some of those open source frameworks, I will be really glad to see that and celebrate that with you. So that's a bit about me. I think Rui was very, very kind to introduce both the meetup and also a bit myself. Yeah, so I do have a little toddler now, so he's actually coming up to 15 months. Very exciting, lots of love and happy mischief, and it's also a responsibility, but it's a lot of fun. So fortunately, I was able to get some good sleep, so I hope to be my best for you today. Yeah, by day and also actually by night, I'm doing a lot of commercial projects and which tie into deploying new technologies, deploying data science to serve businesses. So I need to really understand the business needs of my clients. I need to co-create the best pathway forward for them, and I need excellent communication to do that. So I've been forced to practice this and to be great at it. And fortunately, I'm rewarded with pretty good business growth, even despite the worldly upheaval, which I mentioned before, and which is mentioned every day. Great. So what again communication is about? Well, we're dealing with ideas, we're dealing with discoveries, we're working with data, and we're actually working with information. And what that kind of invites is a lot of confusion potentially if it's not done well. So we're creating clarity, we're creating faster exchange of information, we're creating structure and communication, and that this drives value in our industry. So once we do that, we are faced with with the principles here that the easier something is to use, the more it gets used, and that means that is seen everywhere. That is whenever you go to like a very difficult presentation which is not prepared well and has lots of equations, you start to question whether the intention is to make you feel like you don't understand, or whether it is to really introduce concepts to in a way that is easy to consume. But on the flip side, you can see great businesses rewarded for making things simple. So I don't know if you saw that, but there was a post on Instagram quite a while ago circulating with showing an actual monkey successfully using Instagram to browse photos and like them. And I'm not, that is not brought up to be demeaning anyway. That is just brought up to say like as praise for how good the designers were to make such an intuitive interface and such an intuitive product. So there's a middle ground between equations and then making things interspecies. But what we're looking for here is to really understand this accessibility of ideas makes the time to understand them quicker, so it makes the throughput of ideas over time and throughput of work with ideas over time makes it greater. And looking at the enemies in this battle is the limits of time, attention, and people's focus. Distractions probably like one of the greatest hindrances to productivity these days, and many people are realizing that when they set the phone aside for a week during holidays, then they get a new depth of understanding and come back to work with even better ideas about the projects that we're involved with. And on top of that, in our domain, we're dealing with intangible results. So say software engineers, they are also dealing with intangible results because it's all abstracted in virtual space in your head when you design it. But with data, you not only have code instructions, but you also have information. So the data gathered somewhere, the way the data was gathered, the way it is stored, the way it comes in, and then also you have all kinds of like ways of modeling the data and relationships between it, and all of this is expressed in code. So we are living in this intersection, which provides a lot of opportunities for confusion, and then that creeps up with risk. So when broadly speaking, what I've seen over the years as being the conditions that lead to excellent communication is when the communicator is able to introduce a situation where the audience has a curious state of mind, is proactive. They are invited as if there was a dance between two parties rather than a one-way broadcast. Then, of course, the attractive interface, which we talked about just a moment ago, which leads to low cognitive expense, which leads to higher absorption of ideas. So either they are absorbed better or more of them in the same amount of time. And that goes for geniuses just as well. So if you're a genius and you can understand the most difficult idea, that's wonderful. But if the ideas are explained simply, then you can understand more of them or understand them deeper. So you're doing a service to humanity whenever you explain ideas clearly. And yeah, that then in a business, because of the intangible circumstance, and because of like the distractions of daily life, whenever you bring focus into the right domain, so like you focus on the right things, you spend, like many people say about this 80-20 principle, when you do that with communication, you end up going so much further because you just use your time effectively. Great. And actually, the way it can be summarized is that we're actually, when we are showing our results, is we are crafting experiences. So that, and when I say crafting experiences, now imagine you've worked on a report, analytical report, and you've worked on it for, say, a day, a week, whatever time it took, or you worked for, like, on a data science exploration project, and the result was not even tangible, like it was a bet. And after a certain amount of time, you communicate that outcome. So what is that? Did you think about that? And does it take form of a PDF? Does it take form of slides? Does it take the form of an Excel spreadsheet? Those are all experiences. There's an experience of receiving a spreadsheet in the mailbox, or like a screenshot in your Slack channel. So whether you want it or not, you are doing that anyway. So as you will see during this presentation, you can actually tweak a few things and go so much further while doing a similar amount of effort. And that lets you do it consistently, and that lets this process make it it becomes part of your offering, and it becomes part of your habit of the way you deliver work. And here I want to highlight these great open source tools which I sourced, which perhaps you're familiar with them already. I know a lot of people are. They are very successful in enabling this type of attitude and this type of delivery that I talked about. One of them is Voila. One of them is called Streamlit, another Panel, and then Plotly. Perhaps there's even more, but those are the leading ones which I identified when I was doing my work. And I wanted to say that just basically really grateful to the amazing community, because all of them are great. All of them are actually capable of pretty much the same stuff. And it's just that you can use one of them, the one that suits your way of working best. So if you work best with notebooks, then Voila takes notebooks and turns them into self-standing apps. If you work with scripts, then perhaps Streamlit or Panel could be that for you. So you just write a script, and that script serves an app. Just take you like this Flask app. Now this has a lot of components, and it is like a fusion of a notebook and a script. So whether you like to develop in PyCharm, VS Code, or in Jupyter, all those options are for you. You can just select the one that works best for you. You can track their growth. You can contribute to them, and you can use them. So I will be focusing on Voila because it's my favorite, and I have a ton of respect for the authors. And it's, I mean, the things I've built and I've seen people build really make you say, like, what? But we can go into that later. So here's another slide about Panel and Voila. Then, yeah, both of them can serve notebooks. So your work in a notebook can be exposed as an independent thing. And Panel, Streamlit, and Dash, they're serving scripts. So this is actually serving I think it's a style GAN, or yeah. So, or style transfer network. And like I said, Voila is my favorite. And here I would like to thank the authors and contributors to some of the things I will show today. So these gentlemen are really, really active, and I highly recommend following them on the various social media. And I also, following their GitHub activity too. Creators of Jupyter and like faster implementations of pandas, and one of the kind of UI layers on top of Voila that we'll be using here. Great. So I will just now move into the lab. I hope this introduction was useful to you, because it really doesn't work as well if you don't have that attitude. And let's now focus on an actual example. So let me change the sharing. I need to switch to sharing a different window. So now I think I should also be able to see your comments and your questions. So if you decide to throw virtual tomatoes at me, make sure they are virtual, because otherwise they'll land on your screen, which I will not reimburse. But going back to the example, so like I said in the beginning, please consider this as your project. I've recently worked on, we have a Fast AI study group in London, which I'm part of, and also I'm very glad that some of the participants right now are also part of it, and really great meetings, and yeah, highly recommend either joining us or starting your own group. Well, so this was a work effort to explain natural language, classify a deep neural network that classifies, actually in this case could be any classifier, but the one that we're using here as an example is the lesson 3 IMDb movie review prediction classifier. So it says it's a positive or a negative review, but as you can imagine, you can just take that model and train it on any other set of classes, and it will do a decent job. How decent though is what I was trying to build a tool set, or kind of get a hold of a tool set that does that helps me understand that. So here, this notebook is more annotated than usually like a working notebook would be, and there's it's also turned into a blog post by now. But what I would like you to imagine is that it's in a more rougher stage, where it's more like without all the markdown, and it's just trying a bunch of things and seeing how they come out, and wrangling with code as one does in Jupyter. And imagine that you have arrived from that to something that is, you have applied, let's say I have applied this method for explaining neural network predictions. Let me get away with that ambulance. And so explaining different predictions while knowing what drives them. So which words, so say I have a review and I have words, and then I want to know which words are actually influencing this skew towards positive or negative. And let's say I've worked out something like that, which then becomes I have here I have words on the bottom, and here I have like the strength of the attribution. So I have best is actually a strong positive attribution, and then film and ever is also a strong, relatively strong attribution. So and think about it again. Think it's your project. Maybe you did like some time series analysis. Think maybe you've done some just data analysis, plain like exploratory data analysis. And I've got this, yeah. And maybe I can try it now on various different reviews, and I can come up with explanations, and I can review how does the model work, and where it fails, where it succeeds, and decide to perhaps build some tests and freeze some functionality expressed with tests. How do I bring this conversation to others? Well, I can take a screenshot of this, and then they can email me back and say, hey, can you try this sentence? And then I can send a screenshot to them. That's one experience. I actually went slightly further for the blog post. Just very slightly. I used a nice, actually from one of the gentlemen from the reference slide, Mario Boykuisen. He created a nice IPyViewtify library, which we'll use in more extensively later. He and others created this, and it takes the framework, the material framework called Viewtify, which has free components such as these ones, and many more. So here you can see like quite a lot of different wonderful components. He made that, integrated that into notebooks. So at this point I've created this list of chips, and I have these chips, and I can view my sentence in this way here, right? And if I wanted to add some like information that displays when I hover over it, I also can do that. And that is, a different story. I visually immediately see what are the like areas of concentrated impact and what provides that impact. So still, now I can send a screenshot of that in Slack, or I can, save the notebook and put it in Git, or I can put it in a PowerPoint. But that's, that always requires me, and that's like I'm the master of this, and Others, for them to be able to join this, they need to reproduce the environment. And people who code infrequently or their main job isn't coding, they don't have time to spend on setting up environments, on basically doing this work. And it's funny, but even small requirements, they also take time. And for someone who doesn't do that every day, a little bit of time goes a really long way, and something can be easy for you and very difficult for someone else to fit into their day schedule. But you want to communicate with them because they have the other side of the conversation. They know what is important for the business, how is it important, what you should be focusing on, and this is the information that you are seeking to constantly improve your offering. So if I want to take that to the next step and interact with them, then I actually, here the notebook name reveals everything. I have the same situation, same story. I'm loading my my function that grabs attributions for the sentence that I provide and then tries to explain it. So then I have my film review, I have my chips, and now I'm using IPy widgets. And IPy widgets is a wonderful library that connects, that creates components within Jupyter that link to objects in Python in the kernel, and through that they runs functions, and through that you can achieve results like this. So you have, it's a I can input my sentence. So my interaction with this function is no longer through code and through invocations, but it's actually through like this user interface, which was manifested by adding this little set of lines here. So say I'll say, okay, I'm so disappointed that it was so short. I'd rather, okay, I'm actually going too long. I'll just keep it quiet. Right, I can use like a different baseline token, which is a feature of this little problem space I'm dealing with. If you want to read more about this, there's a blog post which is free. You can just have a look. But let's say I'm using this the other type of baseline, and I think it predicted negative, and then this is the strongest word. Yeah. So you can see already, like I'm speaking, how can I improve that? I can add the prediction here. But yeah, this is like, so I becomes red. So think about it inversely. So I is a sign that this should be a positive, because if someone speaks about themselves and their emotions and their reaction, that's usually a positive sign. And disappointed is like a strong word in favor of this being a negative review. Cool. So now still I live in the realm of my stakeholders not being able, or my collaborators not being able to use this without me. So I can bring it to a meeting, I can project it on the screen, and then we can sit around the table and I can type in the words that they tell me, and we can try to see what comes out of it. And they will then gain confidence in my work and in this art approach in general, that okay, this model actually, it doesn't do stupid stuff, it's reliable. We can kind of put our signatures under it and sell it to someone, or offer it and not risk our reputation. So there we go. That's one situation here. But what if I was able to serve it separately? So that's where Voila comes in. It's very, very amazing, and it works like that. You just invoke the notebook using this command line function called Voila. So that's the name of the framework, the name of the Python package, and what you do is just say Voila, and then interactive IPyNB, and here we go. And it's running on this local host, and what it's going to do is execute the cells that I had in the notebook. However, it will not be showing the outputs. Sorry, yeah, it will not be showing the inputs of the cells. So it's hiding my code. And code, it's not that I'm shy about my code. Maybe I should be. Any software engineers in the room? No, it's not that. No, it's not that. It's also even not that someone can steal it. It's more that it's confusing. If you show someone the output and then the code, and they are not a veteran of Jupyter, then they'll ask you, oh, what does this code do? And all their attention will go to the wrong thing. but if you launch it through Voila, then that's not a problem anymore. So here, if I just run it, then it mysteriously goes away and does the work. Hopefully comes back. Yes, it does. Yeah. So here we go. So the user interface is of questionable elegance, but it's simple. Costs nothing to do. Just import IPy widgets, and here we are. I could, and you can see how many things I could improve. But actually, it's not difficult to do that. So I hope just this in and of itself is useful to you and valuable to you, even though we're just getting started. I'm seeing a question: how easy it is to deploy the interactive UI on the internet. So it's actually Voila provides documentation where you can put it on Heroku, or you can put it on any cloud provider. We can talk about more details of it later, but if you are aiming for audiences of like under 50, then yeah, very easy. And if you want to scale more, it's more custom, but still not too difficult. And then if you have Streamlit, I think Streamlit are open source with a commercial edge to it and a lot of venture capital money. And so they center their offering, their paid offering around deploying this. And Plotly Dash, I think it's also fairly okay. It's like basically a server, a Tornado or a Flask. I can't remember because I don't use it too much. But let's move on, because we have some amazing things to improve on this. So here's where the fun starts. So I'm really impressed with this gentleman Mario, because he and probably the people who collaborated with him also in the creative stage, they have what have they got? They turned like this whole, this is also a separate open source project, which is like, so there's React, there's Angular, there's Vue, and then Vuetify is another, amazing contribution, which is out there in the open. And it's just so much work done by people who know what they're doing. And I don't know, do you ever get the impression that when you're dealing with data, you have to be like a data analyst, data engineer, and also sometimes venture into DevOps land, and at times also, be a little bit of a UI designer. I think the organizers of this meetup put some nice messages in the announcement that, like, if you want to escape CSS world, which everyone does, I believe, everyone who's not consciously in that profession. No, I like CSS. It's anyway. Yeah. So just the key message there being access to amazing resources easily. Getting a question: have I tried Jupyter Dash? No, I have not, but that's nice. Would that be about deploying notebooks through Dash? If that's the case, then that just goes to as testimonial to what I said earlier, that the tools are really amazing, and there's many offerings that are really good. So just pick the one that serves you and that serves your project. So here I'm actually building an app, and I'm adhering. So I have all my usual suspects here, the same that I had before, my chips and my attributions, and I'm looking to go along the lines of thought of model view presentation, where you divide your app into 3 sections. So one is the model, which holds the data, the state. So here I have sentence, target, and baseline token, and all with like human language, so no longer the keyword arguments. Then I have the view being how, what are the components that the user is looking at and interacting with. So here I have some inputs. I have a text area for the input. I have target input. So if I want to anchor the prediction not to come from the model, but actually I want to fix my interpretation around the particular class. And again, I'm delving into the problem space, but you think about it as your, like, what would you do in your project? What you have available is you have all these toggles, interfaces, and there's tons of components more. So I believe I just need to run that, not just scroll through it. Okay. And finally, here I have some arrangement of that. So I'm creating these nice cards. And then finally, presentation is tying this together and arranging events. So as you can see, it's like 3 screens, and it's also pretty zoomed out. So you can see it's not too much configuration at all. And then when I make the app, then I can make the app in my notebook, and then it looks like this, and it's here in the notebook. Same, same deal like last time. I can just explain. And here I have great, coming out as great. That's very strong. But I can apply the voila magic to it again. And more than that, I can apply a template. So voila not only needs to render notebooks, but it can also render templates, like render notebooks within templates. And that template requires me to say where I want to have this display here, where I want it in the app. And it's like the main content, so it's being mounted correctly. So in this case, I won't even see any of the notebook outputs that happened before. I'll just see my content. And if I want to go and do that, I've created a little helper script, which again I'll clear, and I'm going to serve that up. Okay, and now again it's going to load up my cells. So configure everything I've got there. This is also customizable. And here you go. So I have my app. This is the notebook name, by the way. This is a heading that I added. This is my text area. So this is a bad review. Boo. Predicted category negative. And then yeah, explain. And now you can see I can innovate. Well, so this gives me some questions about the quality of the model. Bad is not contributing to negative. That's really strange. But boo is slightly contributing to the. So there you go. I can spend time understanding. Maybe there's problems in my data set. Maybe there's problems in. But beyond this one example and this explainer, what really matters is that now you can just like say you work in a company that has an operations center, and that operations center has to make decisions on the daily, and then they have some processes and habits, and you as a data scientist have like insight that you can contribute to them being faster and having an easier time doing their job. And then you build an app within a day that you can prototype with them, and then they can use it in their day-to-day and find out whether it really works or not, whether the business case is there. And if it's there, then you can hire a team of front-end developers to build this, actually make this part of like a reliable flow. And just that process of carving out the solution faster is in my opinion invaluable. And actually, yeah, I'm really grateful for everyone who's innovating in this space, and I've seen some really great reactions too. So this also works on mobile phones, by the way. So if you serve it, there was an anonymous question whether you can deploy this on the internet. Yes, you can, and you can open it from your iPhone. So during our Fast AI group, at one point we were trying predictions from mobile phone photos. So you would like open a Voila app, take a photo, it will send it to your laptop, and it will print the prediction, on your phone. So it took like an hour to build, or no, not even, just the whole setup to get it going. I hope this is useful. These are some. You can even have a navigation panel. Yeah, you can add it, mount it as well, like was shown on the other demo. And here are some great projects. So I'll have a slide with resources later, but if you want to take a screenshot, you can just, you probably know some of those things, but IPyBeautify and Voila Beautify are the packages related to this template and everything. Cool. So I thank you for your questions, and thank you for looking at it. And I just have a few more things to share for concluding. So to review benefits, what you're helping is knowledge sharing, preservation of that in the organization. And that occurs, that's like a habit, that's an organizational habit. And that's really, really paying off in the longer run, actually even in the midterm run. relationships between teams. If you know anything about deploying machine learning to production, then you know that DevOps can ruin your life or can make your life amazing. So building those relationships, building relationships with stakeholders to approve new projects and to take things in the direction that you care about and that you know is important for everyone, this is very useful. Frankly, you can build proof of concepts in hours that would take teams to build, and it would take days. And then that gives you more time to focus on the core work and to advance both your personal development and the company development, and your team development, and everybody wins. So my objective here was to highlight how this really saves you time and gives you value and really amazing stuff. And if you look at that, there you have. This is a very important film. No, just kidding. But if you know this film, then you probably know the extensive and powerful dialogue that is there. Just kidding. There's very little dialogue, but one of the only things that John Wick says as he kills approximately 1 million people in revenge, then is consequences. And I just want you to think of the consequences of all those benefits becoming an ongoing part of your experience. So those are some credits that I would like you to be aware of, and some links to the frameworks that were used. So please, reach out to me later or take a screenshot. That's it. I hope this serves you and this is amazing for you, and you can see the ways you will be using this, or you already use similar techniques and just want to practice more. If you're interested to become really great at it, then reach out to me. I've worked for the last 6 months on some amazing stuff that I would like to share with you. But yeah, I think with that, we are open. Okay, I can see questions coming in. Yeah, so is the Jupyter Notebook really a good option to write an application? It was created to be a live document, not an application. Okay, so that's a nice question there. So yes, it is meant to be a document, but imagine this: you have to share your work anyway. You've done all this work already, and what are your options? Yeah, what do you have? What do you have there for as your options? You have the usual suspects. So you have PDFs, slides, Excel. Sometimes it's really difficult to get these concepts across because they're all novel. They are an intersection of subjects. So yeah, you will not build a search engine on top of that, but you can get away with some pretty amazing stuff. And it takes one person to build it, as opposed to a team with a manager and with approval for their time to be spent on this. So I hope you can see the trade-off there. Do you find it specifically difficult to debug using Voila or the same as usual? Yeah, can get tricky. So if you're doing it right, it's easy. If not, it can get tricky. The service as it is actually provides quite some nice logging, so shows you what went wrong if cells don't execute. Yeah, other than that, there is some debugging techniques that are notebook specific. But yeah, we've done some pretty serious debugging on it, and get in touch if you have an actual use case. What tool would you use to quickly deploy it online? Well, Amazon EC2. I guess there's also what is it? This thing that you can tunnel your computer. ngrok. You can tunnel. I'm not sure if the screen. Yeah. So if you go to ngrok.com. Well, thank you so much. It was great. I really appreciate your attention and your time, and I really wish this serves you. And I think if you use it right, it definitely will. Because whenever I see it deployed, then I see people appreciate it and like it. Feedback. So one of the really great contributors to our Fast AI group has recently been hired to a new company that's a very innovative company, and he just shared in the comments that he has used and is using this setup, and it's very useful for him. So I'm very glad, and I can say the same about my situation, and I think that it goes as great tribute. So it just also goes to show, like, say you go for that 20,000 people laid off in Silicon Valley, and you have people getting hired at the same time. So of course, it's, a lot of it is outside of our control. But if there's anything in your control, then this is it. Yeah, you can improve your skills where they matter, which is communication to a great degree, because a lot of you have spent so much time becoming very skilled and educated, and knowing the things and how to do things, and getting that out there, making a difference is what communication enables. So,
unfortunately, Michal cannot hear me. So I want to thank him for the presentation, and to thank you all for your interaction with him. This is the link if you are interested in see the demo that Michal presented. Please follow this link. The link will be available after with the presentation and the video. Finally, I want to reinforce the idea that we are looking for speakers. So if you have done anything with the proposal, or if you have done anything with data science, and or someone that did anything with data science, please, this is your call for proposals. Follow the links and share a speaker, a volunteer for us. Finally, there is a survey. We read your comments and we try to improve our meetups to the best that we can. We know they are not ideal yet. They are not as well calibrated as the physical ones, but we are trying our best to make the remote ones feel as close as the physical ones are. So please share all your knowledge, share all your comments regarding the event with us, and we'll try to fix as many issues that we can. And that's it for us. Thank you all, and thank you, Michal, for the presentation. We hope to see you again soon. And we'll keep in touch with the new speakers, and please register for the DSPT Day that is back online.